everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Brittany and today I'm going to be doing the Booktube Newbie Tag. The information I was able to find says that the Booktube Newbie Tag was started by somebody named Brenda C. in 2014, but that the original video isn't listed, so I've linked a few booktubers that I really enjoy down in the bottom of my video. If I keep looking over to the left, it's because I am reading the questions off this side of my screen, so I apologize in advance. The first question says, why did you start this channel? I love talking about books and sharing book recommendations with people, and I also love getting book recommendations, so the more people I can talk to about books, the better. Question number 2 says, what are some fun and unique things you can bring to Booktube? Something that I think is unique that I want to kind of marry in my reading videos is reading that I do for my professional life and reading that I do for fun. In my everyday life, I am a teacher, so I have books that I read to grow my practice as an educator, and I don't see much of that on Booktube. So not only will I be doing books that I read for fun, but books that I read to grow myself as a teacher. The third question says, what are you most excited for about this new channel? I am, kind of like I said in question number 1, most excited for hearing recommendations from people in the comments or in video responses. I'm anticipating that some of the recommendations will be for books that I've never heard of, or books that I wouldn't necessarily check out or buy on my own, so that's something that I'm looking forward to, kind of growing my genre selection, like growing the number of books that I read, not just based on things that I really enjoy already, but things that you guys share with me. So that's something I'm really looking forward to. Question number 4 says, why do you love reading? And I love reading because it's an escape from the everyday. You can experience a life that you wouldn't have otherwise. I learned through talking with my husband that not everybody gets to picture a book in their head, but I can. I picture books in my head like a movie, so every time I read a book, it's like I'm there. And like the pretentious side of me always thinks of the George R.R. Martin quote that says, "A reader lives 1,000 lives before he dies. The man who never reads lives only one." And I think that really sums up part of why I love reading. I get this experience that I never would have based on either where I am in the world or my life experiences. Anyway, moving on, number 5 says, what book series got you into reading? And I've been thinking about this question ever since I started planning to do this video, and I'm going to be honest, I can't remember what book series or even individual book really sparked my love of reading. I do remember being an elementary school student and getting a Dear America Girl for Christmas, and it came with a book. And it was the Samantha doll, and it came with the original, like the first Samantha book. And I remember reading all of the American Girl doll books that I could get my hands on, and I loved them. I also remember in 5th grade getting a Scholastics book flyer, and there was a Dear America book at the bottom corner. And I showed it to my mom and I begged for this book, and it turned out to be a subscription series, so I would get a new book every month and some diary pages and a couple other little things. But it was a series of historical fiction diaries that focused on American history events, so things like the Great Dust Bowl and Western Expansion. And the first one that I remember reading was the Journey on the Titanic. So it followed a girl leaving England and coming to America on the Titanic. And it was so important to me. It was such a good book, and I have it even now. It's not here. It's actually in my classroom right now, but I can't go to my classroom because of COVID. So I have easily 20 Dear America books in my classroom. I have more coming to my house because I think they're really great to get kids engaged with history events, but I don't have them here. So regardless, these books even still mean so much to me. Question number 6 says, what questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? I have just a couple. One would be, I want to know what your least popular favorite book is, or what is the least popular book that you think everybody should read? I also want to know what older contemporary books do you enjoy? There are books right now being published that are amazing, but what are books that were published a few decades ago that you love? I know that Emily Fox shared The Lathe of Heaven by Ursula Le Guin, and that's on my TBR. So what books that are older but recently published do you really enjoy? And by recently, I mean within the last 100 years. Number 7, what challenges do you think starting a booktube channel will be the hardest to overcome? I am painfully shy, so I think that's going to be the biggest challenge for me. It sounds a little conflicting because I'm a teacher, so I stand up in front of my students and I act silly and outgoing. But when I'm in front of other adults or peers, I clam up and I am awkward and goofy. And you can tell, I mean, you've made it to question number 7, so I'm sure you can see a little bit of my awkward side. But I think that challenge of being shy and being hesitant to share my own opinions is something that's going to be a challenge for me. Number 8 says, when did you start reading? This goes back to the question about favorite books. I don't remember when words on a page started to make sense to me as an individual. There's no time period where I'm like, oh, that's the day that I started reading, or that's the age I was when I started reading. I know I could read before kindergarten, but I don't remember when. As far as my memory goes back, there's not a meh. We're going to cut that part out. Question number 9 asks, where do you read? Let me read that again. Question number 9 asks, where do you read? I read everywhere. My husband and I share an Audible account, so I listen to books when I'm in the car or when I'm taking my dog to the dog park. And I have an iPad that I read books on at night because it's backlit, so I really like that because I don't have to use a book light. And of course, I've got physical copies of books, so I read those whenever I can. Number 10 says, what kinds of books do you read? And I want to say I read anything and everything, but that's not entirely true. I really like to read historical fiction and fantasy, and I'm growing to enjoy contemporary novels and thrillers, but I don't really care for YA contemporary, and the reason being, I taught middle school for a little while, and I've seen so much drama play out in my classroom that I don't enjoy reading books that are so similar to that point in my life and my career. I'm not saying I'll never read them, but just not right now. So those are all the questions from the Booktube Newbie Tag. If you have questions for me, leave them in the comments and I will answer them in the future. And tell me what your least favorite popular novel is and what's your favorite least popular novel. Thank you for watching and I hope to see you in the future. Bye.